Welcome to the Embody Me podcast. I'm your host, Amber Fortier, a digital entrepreneur, embodiment coach, and manifestation expert. My mission is to help success-driven, ambitious women stand in their power, embody their inner CEO, and manifest the successful business of their dreams. This podcast provides you with thought-provoking conversation, manifestation techniques, and wellness tips to turn your spiritual practices into a lifestyle, discover your inner rich babe, and massively transform your business, brand presence, and bank account. Let's effortlessly manifest opportunities and embody the rich, the confident, and the wildly successful version of yourself. Press play to dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Embody Me podcast. I am here with a very special guest today. Hello, Denise. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Amber?
I'm doing so good. It's been such a busy day connecting with so many amazing women, but I am just loving what I do. And it's so great to really be here and connect with you as well. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction of yourself? I would love to know what you do.
Sure. So just a little bit about me is I'm branded as the SelfLove Alchemist. So I am a healer, a speaker, a coach, a mentor, a friend. I have studied all kinds of different things over the last 20 years. I have a really deep connection with inner healing, inner trauma work, and spiritual entrepreneurship, and, really helping people rise, I guess, in love. And that's really, I would say, what my mission is love, and how we can create solutions personally, professionally, and globally with love.
Wow, I love that so much. And that is just it ties in so perfect because our topic today is spiritual entrepreneurship and how, healing is involved with that. Because as an entrepreneur in the spiritual space, I really come to realize that this journey is such a healing journey for myself. I'm doing so much inner work. I'm always, uncovering new layers of myself and realizing, my limiting beliefs and patterns, and just it brings to awareness so much. And I would love your take on spiritual entrepreneurship.
Yeah, sure. So, whenever we step into entrepreneurship, I'm just going to say that it's not a path that's for the light of, it's not light. Let's put it that way. It's not light. It's not for the faint of heart. You really have to be a self-starter. You have to be dedicated to the process of everything that's going to come along with it, because you're not just going to a job. This isn't 9 to 5. This is passion. This is purpose. And, we can have that drive when we first come up with the idea of whatever it is that we want to step into, whatever is calling to us. And then there comes everything from structure to strategy to the self-development work. And the self-development work, to me, if people ask, like, what would you say is, has made you successful? And I would say it's about 90% of the inner work and then 10% taking action. And that blows people's minds, because then, most people are typically working really hard, and they don't understand that you can start to work smarter, and what does that entail? It entails coming into alignment with yourself.
Yes. And I tell my clients and my friends this all the time that, we often think that, it's 80% strategy, 20% mindset, but, in reality, it's really the other way around, because our mental state and our outlook on life and, the way that our conscious and subconscious mind really shapes our reality, that, has such a huge impact on our business and on how our business is able to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's how we relate to people too, because, as entrepreneurs, typically we're in service to people in some way, shape, or form. And so what does that mean? That means networking. That means creating relationships. That means co-creating and collaborating with people. And, in my perspective, I really see this as a beautiful gift because everybody is a reflection, and it's like, I see people as my teacher. I don't see people as, I'm above them or below below them or anything like that. There's people I look up to, but everybody is my teacher because we have something to learn. Everybody has something unique to offer.
I completely agree. And for those entrepreneurs who, we're just starting our entrepreneurial journey, how can we start this healing process, right? How can we start this inner work? Because it's so easy to get trapped into wanting to learn everything about the strategy and everything about social media and marketing. And we oftentimes, put our mindset last.
Yeah.
So how can we start that journey of really uncovering the best parts of ourselves and really healing, as an individual?
Yeah, well, it comes to the number one thing, which is awareness. It's noticing and it's observing. And the thing is that if you're in go mode all the time, you're not actually pausing to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and keep checking in with yourself. You have to keep checking in with yourself. And so that's why it's really, really, really important to have well, for me, at the very least, it's a morning and nighttime routine, right? And taking that time out for myself so I can keep check in with my emotions, check in with where my mindset is. I check in with where my vibration is, and the thing is that if we're in hustle mode all the time, and I've been there, trust me, I did the thing for a long time and I was so far out of alignment, and that was in my first business. And you would think that running a yoga business was like super peaceful. And at times it was, but I ran myself through the ringer in that. I mean, I was down to the bone, I would say, working 7 days a week for 5 years. Like that was not healthy.
Yeah. So I would love to hear more about what your morning and night routine looks like.
Sure. So at this point, I've got it down. I'm really, really dedicated to my practice at this point. So right when I wake up in the morning, I actually drink lemon water. So I kickstart my metabolism, and I get my digestive system going, and then I go and meditate for typically like 30 minutes to an hour every day. And so it just kind of depends how much time I have, and B, if that's what I really need, because sometimes I don't need as much. And then after I do that, I actually make celery juice and I drink fresh celery juice. And then after that, I typically will do some writing and some journaling. Maybe I'll do like a card pull, an oracle card pull, and just to kind of set my intention for the day. And if I've got time in there, well, typically I'll make time for hypnosis because I do a lot of subconscious reprogramming. And so I'll do a short hypnosis, and then I'll go into some movement. So movement for me is rebounding, jumping on a trampoline to move my lymphatic system, to awaken, to really like awaken my body. Sometimes I'll throw in a cold shower in there just to like give my body a little bit of a shock. And then, I'll do some yoga, and I'll just roll out my mat. And lately these days I'm doing, it's not a ton. It's like 20 to 30 minutes of yoga. And I just, have an app that I use. And, I'm a former yoga teacher too, so I can always do my own practice, but I always find it easier for me to follow along with somebody because then I hold myself accountable to staying with it the entire time.
It's so funny you say that because I'm the exact same way. And this is exactly why I created Embody Me, which is a, online community for entrepreneurs as well as, I love yoga. I'm also a yoga teacher, but I struggle when it comes to just doing my own practice, So I also find it much easier to watch someone else's video and to just let yourself enjoy without having to think about your sequence and all of the other things. But wow, first of all, I love your morning routine. That sounds so expansive. You really are prioritizing yourself and your body, like for the first, maybe is it like an hour or two of your day?
Yeah, I would say it can be up to 3 hours. So, if I wake up, I would say on average, I wake up at 7:30. And so I typically will not be seeing clients or taking meetings until 11, sometimes 12. And, and then in that time, so by the time I get to my desk and I'm starting my day and I'm going over my task list for the day, I've already taken care of myself. Right. And I haven't looked at my emails yet. I haven't checked my phone yet. Sometimes I'll kind of like throw in, do a 9 a.m. Instagram post if I'm feeling up to it at that point. But in the morning, I don't check my phone. I don't get on that stuff because it's like, I don't want to muddle what I'm focusing on for the day. And because the thing is that we get so distracted and well, as women, we tend to multitask, right? And entrepreneurs tend to multitask all the time. And I really, really work on that with myself. I mean, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm going to be honest with you there. Like I'm a recovering perfectionist. So nothing I do in my day, I try to do perfectly. I just try to do my best at everything that I do. I do my best to stay present with my meditations. I do, and for the most part I can, but sometimes I'm processing something, something's come up. In my yoga practice, it's like, I notice if there's an urge because I'm like, oh man, I didn't hear from my assistant, yesterday or, last in the evening yesterday. And I'm curious about this thing. And I get really tempted to go and like check my phone, and I have to pull back from those temptations because these are the little addictions that it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to feed that. Right. But what are you feeding? Really? You're feeding procrastination, you're feeding addiction, you're feeding keeping yourself present from what you're actually doing, and you're actually clouding up your mind. You're not serving yourself by doing that.
And it's so true because lately I've been also working on not checking my phone for like at least the first hour of the day. And I'll notice myself, it's like, ooh, my mom texted me. Let me just reply to my mom. And then next thing you know, I'm scrolling on Instagram. I don't even know how I got on the app. And I'm like, whoa, how did this happen? And which I find, really, really interesting because you're right. We are very addicted. So really trying to pull ourselves out of that and figure out, what is really serving me? How do I want to start my day? And especially as an entrepreneur, this is something that I also have struggled with. But we often we're so trained, by the corporate world, like you wake up, you get your coffee, you start straight to work. And as you're transitioning into being an entrepreneur, we have a lot more freedom of how we want to structure our day. And I love that you're giving yourself permission to say, I'm not going to work until 11, at least. I'm giving myself those 3 hours in the morning to focus on me because you are really creating the life that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to honor your energy. Like for me, I don't know if you know human design, but I'm a projector. So as a projector, I have really learned to honor that part of myself. I need rest. I cannot push myself to 16 hours a day anymore. On occasion, I do it because I show up to certain things that I'm, whatever it is. But for the most part, nope, not on an average day. I will not do that to myself. And it's like, I am constantly checking in. Do I, like, even before this call, I started my day actually at 10 today and I was working, and then I took a lunch break, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to go sit in the sun for a few minutes and just gather up some rays. And so as I was sitting there and I was doing a little meditation, and then as I kind of came back, I was like, all right, I've got this call, in a little bit. And I was like, what does my body need right now? And I was starting to feel, because I've had such a full week, I was like, all right, I'm going to just take a few minutes and I'm going to literally go and lie down. I'm just going to calm my nervous system because, and then my mind went to, oh, but I have this to do and I have this to do. And I was like, no, I got all the pressing things done this morning already. I'm good. Quit trying to squeeze it all in.
Yeah, that's so important to really just check in with yourself, asking yourself these questions, because if we never ask, our monkey brain is saying, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I got to record 10 TikToks and I got to make a YouTube video. Then I got to send an email letter. And like, we will just be going and going and going for weeks and weeks and not even just check in with ourselves and see like, wait, okay, what is my priorities for one? Like, what are the real things that need to get done? And also, how do I feel?
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because one of the posts that was posted in my private Facebook group today, the Self-Love Tribe, the post was recharge yourself as much as you recharge your phone. And it's like, so if you want to take the cue from your actual device and be like, wait, did I charge my phone today? Wait, did I recharge me today? Have I done that? And if your answer is no, all right, time to start again, and this is the thing is that if you're so caught up in the energy and you're going all the time, do not expect to have a 3-hour practice in the morning. Don't expect that. Start small, and then you slowly add on to those things. Because I used to be a person who just jumped out of bed and started my day. I didn't meditate. I didn't do any of that stuff. And it's like, I picked up meditation probably about 8 years ago or so. And ever since then, it's just been a part of my daily life.
I love that. And I really love how you said to just start small, because it's so easy to want to just go from 0 to 100. And then we feel bad and we don't stick to our morning routine. And then we, end up in this vicious cycle of wanting to do everything and then feeling bad when we don't, but really, figuring out what feels good to you.
Yeah, it's what feels good to you and giving yourself grace for that, And so when I'm working with like my VIP clients, for example, a lot of my VIP clients, I only take maybe 2 or 3 of those a year. And they're typically people who are on the track of becoming or who are entrepreneurs, who are starting their coaching business, who are starting their business. And so I really break everything down for them. And so the first thing that we work on is their health. And I'm like, all right, we need to get your health as a foundation, because if I see where you're going in your business, but we can't get to that until you create your foundation within. And so, it's a process, it's a process. And so every week we're looking at, what are you doing in your self-care this week? How, what did you fall off of? What's working for you? What's not working for you? And then it gets tailored until the point where it's like my clients are, boom, it's in, like it is part of them now.
And taking, this conversation to the self-healing aspect of things.
Yeah.
What are the best ways that you can recommend, or what are some ways, I should say, that we can really start this relationship to healing ourselves?
Yeah. Well, first, again, it comes down to noticing, right? Noticing what your triggers are. And this comes, you will see it all the time in entrepreneurship. You'll see imposter syndrome. You'll see perfectionism. You'll see unlovability. You'll see, it's just that unworthiness. And, entrepreneurship is an emotional roller coaster. It really is. You know this, right? It's like, you wonder if I'm doing enough. Am I showing up enough? Do people like me? Am I liking myself? Right? You're going in all these different directions. And then you're also, wanting to hone in, right? Especially when you're new at entrepreneurship and maybe you don't have an idea who your ideal client is, right? Or maybe you do have an idea, but you have to hone it in, right? Because there's 7 billion people on this planet. And some of those people are meant for you, but not all of them. Right. So it comes down to also like breaking these patterns of people pleasing, of overgiving. And that's a big one too. And I see that with a lot of healers, overgiving and not feeling worthy of money. Oh my gosh, money blocks, huge one. Right. So observing and noticing those things. And typically for me, what I've done with those is I've worked with mentors and coaches and healers because I couldn't do it by myself. I had to break through that stuff. And so that's what I did. And then I got into hypnotherapy, and I mean, gosh, that was a game changer because you just go straight to the subconscious. And I'm like, oh yeah, I prefer that. I want to get straight to the root. I don't need Band-Aids. I don't, like just take me there, let me heal it. And then I'll move on, move forward.
I love that. And yeah, hypnotherapy is so powerful. And I recently had a session as well. And afterwards, wow, for me, from my experience, I felt so much lighter. I felt like I'd been holding like a backpack somehow full of rocks. And I finally took it off and I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I was holding on to so much, but that's released now. So hypnotherapy is such an amazing practice as well.
Yeah. Hypnotherapy is a really great one. It gets straight to the subconscious mind and, but there are other ways to do it too, right? To break up the energy when it comes to inner healing. I highly suggest for people like therapy. If you think you need a therapist, great. If you don't think you need a therapist, get a therapist. Why? Because you can't see everything. Mm-hmm. And you're not meant to, right? And finding the right therapist and the right people to work with, right? And then this also comes down to, energetics in your body. Like I consider my team not just my team in my business, but my team in my life. Like that includes my herbalist, my chiropractor, my acupuncturist, my massage therapist, my actual therapist. I have even my house cleaner, right? Like that, she's a part of my team too. And I take all of this because there's only so much I can do. But when you're starting out, and look, I know that, it definitely takes money to be able to do these things. When you're starting out, do what you can with what you have. Don't say, well, I can't afford to do those things because I don't have the money yet to do those things. I'm just pouring into my business. Okay, great. Well, what can you do? Right? What can you do? There are so many options out there. So many options, you just have to look online. There's therapy apps that aren't very expensive at all. And it's actually very easy to do that. You can do, you can find stuff on YouTube. You can do EFT tapping sessions for free with a guy named Brad Yates. He's got tons of videos, right? To help break up some of this stuff. So don't ever think that in order for me to do this, I have to invest, thousands and thousands of dollars. It doesn't start that way. I mean, I do that now, but back then when I didn't have the money, what was I doing? I was doing what I could.
Wherever you're at right now, seeing what your options are, not feeling stuck, because we have so much power. We have so much power to change our life. And if something is not working, if we're feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, we can change that. We don't have to stay stuck in it. Your current location is not your final destination. And you can really just make these changes to really bring yourself back into alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and that's the thing too, is that there are coaches out there and people who are constantly doing, like free challenges, get on those, right? Become a part of different communities, like learn from people. And the thing is with entrepreneurship, what do we hear most of is we hear the solopreneur. I've been there. It sucks. It's like, it's really lonely. It's fun to work with people. It is. And I don't need to work with people all the time, but I love co-creating with people. I love, at the end of the day, what are we here for? We're here to relate to each other. Right. And so giving yourself that freedom, you have to find freedom in this. Being a spiritual entrepreneur isn't like, it's not rainbows and butterflies. And like, I'm just, we're living in the ethereal world. Okay, great. But don't bypass what needs to be faced, right? Don't bypass if you have financial trauma because you have some serious money blocks because you were taught that money was evil. Don't bypass that. Face it, right? Find a way to face it. You have to face these things because that's the only way that you're going to break through. And if you see yourself, if you know that you want to have a successful business, well, what is that going to take? It's going to take a hell of a lot of resilience, because in a talk that I recently heard, it's like 90%. Actually, I think this was Mel Robbins. It was a Mel Robbins book I was listening to. The 5-second rule, by the way, that's a great book. So in the 5-second rule, she mentioned that it was like 90% of new entrepreneurs fail in the first 18 months. Yeah. Because, right, they don't have the tools to keep going. Their limiting beliefs stop them.
And we do not want to be part of that 90%, y'all.
No. Oh my God. Don't go back into the matrix, dude. Like, keep going, it's just, and that's the thing. It's like, if you notice that you're struggling, get help, get support, right? You're not supposed to do this on your own. You're really not. I mean, people look at me and they're like, how'd you do this? And I'm like, it took a village, and it still takes a village. I don't do this by myself. There's no way I could do this by myself and be happy,
Right. And I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially as women, to do it all. We have to be the mom and the wife and the entrepreneur, and we wear so many hats, and we feel guilty sometimes for asking for that help and for asking for support. But that is one of the strongest things that we can actually do.
Yeah. And that's where you need to pull back. Exactly. Because you have to pull back from being too far in your masculine. It's a balance, right? You have to balance your feminine and your masculine. To receive is feminine. Hold that, right? Where are you not holding that part of yourself and nurturing that part of yourself? Because we've got the masculine, the feminine, we've got the inner child, we've got the future self. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff going on, right? And then at the same time, it's like, and we want to be in service, and we want to sell our product, and we want to do this and this and this, right? There's so much to it.
And this is exactly why it's so important to, as you say, do this inner healing and do this inner work so that we can really start to shed the parts of us that don't make sense and that aren't serving us, and really rise and be the people that we want to be.
Yeah. And stop rushing. Where are you going? Because people want the end result. And I used to tell this, like, I've had many VIP clients over time. And I remember one, she told me, she was like, but I just want to get there. I just want this. And I looked at her and I was laughing, and she was like, what? And I was like, if you had that right now, would you truly be ready to receive it and enjoy it? And she sat and she thought about that for a second. She was like, no. Why? Because she wasn't ready for it. And that happened to me in the first year of my coaching business, where I sabotaged myself. How did I do that? Because I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready. I brought in, it was one of my first VIP clients that I had brought in. It was a $25,000 client. I ended up sabotaging that client or myself, really, and losing that client because I wasn't ready for what that entailed. Right? I got to the point where I was able to close it, but when it came to actually being able to deliver, I wasn't delivering because I still had some work to do inside, right?
I love that. And, like you said, we're often so focused on where we want to go that we also need to just enjoy the process and enjoy the process of becoming, we are going to look back and think, oh my God, a year ago I was here and now this is where I am. And you learn your lessons. You went through your struggles. You've endured so many challenges. And then, as you say, then that's the point where you're ready. That's the point where you've grown enough where you can support the people and really be of service in a way that is in the most alignment.
Yeah, because you have to serve yourself first.
Yes.
It starts with you. Right. And your clients are going to be reflections of the crap that you haven't healed yet. They are. It's going to come up. Not every client, not every time, but it's going to come up. I guarantee you. Mm-hmm. Right. They show you. People are reflections. So you're going to see, and you have to pay attention to all of this, because otherwise, if you want to be, if you truly, I'm going to say the coaching business, because obviously that's what I'm in, but like, if you're a coach, right, and you are not doing your inner work, you're doing your clients such a disservice because it's not authentic.
And before we wrap this up, I know you have another call soon.
Yeah.
Do you have any last tips or last words of advice for our listeners?
I do actually. So I would say, when you're making your task list, do not make a long ass list. Keep it short. Like, if you have one really big thing that you have to work on every day, do it. Work on that one thing and get that, out of the way. But for me, I tend not to put more than 4 to 7 things. And some of those things are like super small, like, go through the mail, yeah. I don't do that to myself anymore, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's about prioritizing, and I want to be able to do my tasks well.
Thank you so much for that. That's speaking right to my soul. This conversation has been valuable for me at this very point in my life. So I am so grateful for this. It was so amazing to connect with you. And for the people listening who want to connect with you further on social media, where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can totally find me on my website, which is called bridgethelove.com. And if you're finding me on Instagram, it's Denise Michelle XOXO. I'm constantly posting things on there on self-love, self-care, and self-healing. I get nitty gritty and fun in that. And then, you've got my Facebook as well, and that's Denise Michelle Love. I have a private Facebook group called the SelfLove Tribe, and that's an awesome tribe to be a part of. And I put some fun extra goodies in there for people.
Thank you so much. And I will have all of these in the description and in the show notes for anyone who is listening. And once again, thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome, Amber. Thanks for having me, hun.
I hope you enjoyed this juicy episode of the Embody Me podcast. If you love this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the woman in your life who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe so you can keep up with all of our upcoming releases. I cannot wait to catch you in the next episode.